Good morning. This is Manu Walia from Continuum Global Asset Management. It's July 22nd, and I'm bringing you the market commentary for the day. The theme of today's market commentary revolves around the aggregate sentiment of the citizens of a country and how it attributes to its future, whether it's economy, sports, politics, different dimensions of a particular region. One of the basic themes in the capital markets over the last few weeks, months has been the European crisis. We'd like to bring this as an example to prove our theory about the sentiment. There was news yesterday that there was a stress test done on about 91 banks in Europe to see how viable they were as ongoing entities, ongoing business entities. The results are very favorable, and the markets reacted accordingly. The markets were up a lot because only 7 banks out of the 91 banks showed that they had Tier 1 capital of less than 6%. In other words, Tier 1 capital is the viability of the company or the reserves they have in the shape of common stock, retained earnings, and preferred stock that the banking regulators have prescribed for them to have. Now, we believe that this whole endeavor done by the European financial regulators was done to instill confidence in the public, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the 91 banks, and if you raised the Tier 1 capital ratio from 6% to 7%, you would have seen another 17 to 19 banks failing. In other words, the ratio of bank failure would have gone from about 7 or 8% to 27%. What I'm trying to say is that in any aspect of life, and specifically in uncertain areas like the capital markets, if the confidence of the aggregate players in that particular dimension is good, then we can expect the market to move forward. Take an example of the United States. In every aspect, United States believes that they need to move forward. The overall attitude has been that of progression. Unfortunately, over the last 2 or 3 decades, countries like China and India are taking away jobs. And for that reason, the United States has been very, very down on themselves in that area. You travel to China or India and you talk to people, they're very anxious and they're looking forward to their future. And yes, there are other variables that are working, but it's their mindset that tells them to keep moving forward. I believe that the European stress test or the US stress test was primarily driven to instill a positive sentiment in the overall economy so that it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Therefore, I would urge investors to kind of look at the sentiment and see, which areas they believe can gather steam, gather momentum, and where are the, people trying to build momentum, whether it's sports, whether it's economy, whether it's politics, and going back and at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I would say try and gravitate towards countries like China, like India, Brazil, some of the other Latin American countries and Southeast Asian countries, and find the areas that are generating momentum. In other words, positive sentiment in terms of products, in terms of services, and in terms, more importantly, where new money is coming in. One of the examples, and this is by no means a recommendation because every investor is different, and all the disclaimers that I need to do and go around this. But the example that I'm providing is Banco Santander. Banco Santander is one of the biggest Spanish banks which passed the stress test in flying colors. I believe it had a Tier 1 capital of close to 10%, which is very, very healthy. This stock was trading at about $8.50 just a month and a half ago, and it's now moved up to $13 and change. The company pays a 6% dividend, and they may be a Spanish bank, but their operations are spread across Europe and in Latin American countries, and they're expanding very, very swiftly. So when you think about a contrarian trade, you want to think about where the sentiment's going to be over the next month, next quarter, next year, next decade. Again, each investor is different, so I would reiterate that this is not a recommendation, it's just an illustration. But if you'd like to talk more about our views, like always, please visit our website at www.cgamadvisor.com, and you can get our contact numbers there. Once again, thanks for listening, and happy trading.